I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I stayed up all night watching the final 4 episodes of Defenders, so if I fall asleep during the middle of this post-Geekout reaction, you've all been warned. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron, a sleepy Aaron. And this is the post-Geekout reaction for part 2, the final 4 episodes of Marvel's Defenders. Now, for anybody who has not seen a post-Geekout reaction before, it'd be weird that you'd be starting on the second half of our talk about the Defenders and not on the first half. Seems like you should have at least watched that post-Geekout reaction. Anywho, but if you have never seen a post-Geekout reaction before, it is not a review. I do have a review coming up later this weekend, and that will be completely spoiler-free. The post-Geekout reaction is just my open, honest thoughts about the thing that I just watched, and that does include full spoilers. And in part 1, there weren't really that many spoilers. I mean, the only real spoiler is that Stick showed up, but Stick was in the trailer, so you knew that. Part 2 is nothing but spoilers. It is big old spoiler town. So, yeah, get ready. If you have not seen the final 4 episodes of Defenders, why are you watching this? Seriously, final warning. Get the fudge out now. Anywho, time to go into it. Alright, when we last left off, these characters were in the Chinese restaurant and they're being confronted by members of the Hand. And this starts off with a fight scene in there. And as I've been saying, the fight scenes in this show so far, half of them are pretty darn cool. The other half of them are jumbled messes. And yeah, this was a pretty good one. But I'll get into some of the jumbled mess ones coming up later. They get attacked by one of the members of the Hand. And I really like that each member of the Hand has their own different style to them. Especially not just in how they fight, but even in what makes up who they are. They explain that each of them kind of represent different nationalities, so they each kind of represent stuff from those nationalities. So it's okay, that's kind of cool. But they capture this member of the Hand, take him back to a secret base, and basically they try to convince him to give information, but they won't. And basically the whole point of episode 5 is that that's the one where Matt decides, I'm putting back on the costume. It is time for me to become Daredevil again. And I gotta admit, I don't know why it took me that long to pause. I almost dozed off right there. I gotta admit, when Matt came back, that kind of sums up some of my problems with this show. I think the dialogue in this show is really darn good. I think the interactions between these characters is really darn good. However, there are moments where they will just frame a shot that makes me go, oh, why'd you do that? And here's the thing, Matt returning in the Daredevil outfit should have been a big moment, but Jessica is just fighting random dude. Well, it wasn't random dude. It was the guy who was chopping up the bear at the beginning of this. I don't remember anybody's name. But she's fighting one of the main fingers of the Hand, and then all of a sudden, bam, Billy Stick comes in, and then he just comes running up and starts punching him in costume. It's nah, man, they should have had that Billy Stick come in, slow-mo, stop his hand from attacking, then they turn over, and then there he is, standing there, dramatically, oh my gosh, it's the return of Daredevil. It's no, man, he just runs in costume and starts, fighting. I was this really, was this not supposed to be a dramatic moment? Was this not supposed to be important? But basically, they were also trying in this episode to gather up all their loved ones because they were yeah, man, you're all gonna get targeted. So Daredevil has to go to Matt. Daredevil goes to himself. Daredevil has to go to Foggy. He has to go to Karen Page. And I really dug the interactions between Matt and Karen in this, mostly because looking back on it, it really leads up to the end of this season pretty darn well. I'm not going to jump into that right now. We'll discuss that later. But looking at his interactions with Karen and thinking about what happens at the end of the season makes me really appreciate those interactions even more. A lot of those interactions of the whole oh, why are you still doing this? I was we've seen this stuff before. But with what happens at the end of this, I was oh, actually, it has some weight to it. It's actually pretty emotional. But what I love the most about this is I mentioned in the first 4 episodes, I love that they actually remember that each of these characters have a supporting cast. That they didn't just go, well, we're just going to get these characters together and they're just going to go out and fight stuff. And we're going to introduce a brand new supporting cast that's only for the Defenders. They remembered the supporting cast of each of these characters. And I love when they actually got them all in a room. They actually had to come up with a reason to gather them all together. So they gathered them all at the police station, and it's like, man, just seeing like Patsy Walker and Karen Page in the same room together, it's kind of cool, because it actually admits that each of these characters' shows exist within the same world. We knew they existed in the same world, because we knew that these characters were going to team up, but there's just something about seeing the supporting characters now interacting makes the world seem that much richer, that much deeper. It makes it seem like these characters, not just the main characters, but like everyone around them is real. Because if your supporting characters start interacting with each other, yeah, that's something that would actually happen in the real world. That actually means that these supporting characters exist. They have their own thoughts. They have their own storylines. They're not just going to be here just to support the main character. So seeing these supporting characters actually interacting with each other, especially when it gets to that moment where Patsy Walker has to actually talk to Karen Page, and they actually have like a moment where they're like comparing like the messed up relationships they have with their friends, but also kind of like delving into the mystery of what's going on, because like, okay, Karen Page is a reporter. Patsy Walker is a radio host who basically is trying to discover what this mystery is as well. So, okay, awesome. It's great to see that people who are concerned about what this mystery is aren't just the big superheroes on the team. It's also their supporting cast. Their supporting cast is actually doing their own work towards this. I think that this season, actually, in all honesty, I think all the Netflix shows do an amazing job of building up supporting characters. But this season of Defenders did the best job to me of actually making them feel the most real through these interactions. So also, I kind of wish that Karen Page did kind of jump in. Karen Page, sorry, I'm getting everyone confused. Patsy Walker, for anybody who knows the comics, Patsy Walker becomes a superhero called Hellcat. And we did see in the Jessica Jones season that she does know how to fight. She's been trained herself how to fight. So when Jessica was having to fight off this member of the Hand, I kind of wish that Patsy had jumped in there too. That's one thing that I do have to kind of, it's something that I'm going to criticize the show for, but I know a lot of other people aren't going to care about at all. But to me, this season of Defenders wasn't nearly fan servicey enough, if that makes any sense, because pretty much every single Marvel property out there, they sit down and they're like, we're gonna tell this story, but so I'm gonna give you a little sprinkle of like, oh, what could this thing be over there? Oh, that could mean something over here. Oh, this could be a hint of a thing that happens later on. You know, I don't even mean like in Winter Soldier when they mentioned Stephen Strange, and it's like, oh, you just added on to your world there, which, don't get me wrong, that was awesome. But I also mean things in which like they hint like, okay, this character from the comics who becomes this thing, we're gonna hint that they might become that thing in our show or in our movie. Like, you know, good example would be War Machine in the first Iron Man film, which he says next time is like, we all know, oh, I see what you're doing there. Yeah, pretty much every single thing that they do, there's always kind of that feeling of like, oh, it's gonna go on, it's gonna become this thing, or oh, they just hinted that something else might end up showing up in this thing at some point in time. There was really none of that in this, and I can understand it because this was when all four of these shows met together, and it was the shortest season yet, so it very clearly was like, no, we're gonna get these characters to get from point A to point B. This is what it's all been leading to. We're here, tell that story, done. Now they go their separate ways again. But Defenders, it's supposed to be all your street level heroes coming together. It feels like it would have been a nice opportunity to kind of hint that there are others out there. But I will also say that even beyond just hinting at like other heroes out there or hinting at what might become of these heroes here, there was a lot that I was hoping was going to happen to some of these characters in here that didn't happen. And honestly, this felt like the moment when it should. Like a good example is Luke Cage throughout his entire series, throughout the entire first season was, I need money, but I'm not gonna take money for doing the right thing. Which basically, it's hinting at the whole idea of heroes for hire. It's hinting at the fact that in the comics, Luke Cage, he started a business where he was a superhero for hire because he needed money. And throughout all of this, it was like, I need money, but I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I was like, so in other words, in Defenders, you're gonna meet up with Iron Fist. Iron Fist is gonna be like, I like what you do and I'm a billionaire. I'm gonna just give you some cash for going out there to be a superhero. Let's team up. Let's be the heroes for hire. They need that. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna be the heroes for hire. We're gonna establish this. It's gonna be awesome. That doesn't happen. In fact, it's really hinted at in the last episode of Luke Cage, because they look at the barbershop and they go, I don't know what this is gonna become, but it's gonna become something important. And I was like, oh, so it's either gonna become the headquarters for the Heroes for Hire, or it's gonna become the night nurse's office. No, the barbershop doesn't come back at all in this. At all. None. Zero. So, alright, guess we're saving that even later. Or, especially speaking of the night nurse herself, Claire. Yeah, she was the thing that brought these guys together. She was the thread that connected every single one of these shows. And I was like, okay, you're connecting every single one of these shows because it's not just their origins, it's your origin. This is how you become the night nurse. That's what all of this is leading towards. Yeah, she doesn't become the night nurse at the end of this. She does in this kind of what she does in all the other shows, in which she like shows up to kind of help them out while they're doing their main thing over there. But in all honesty, I felt like she should have done way more in this season. That's one big complaint that I do have to throw out there. Claire doesn't have nearly enough screen time in this. There are several episodes where they just kind of forget that Claire is there, and I was like, she's the thing that connected all of these. She's what all of this was leading towards. And a lot of people were like, yeah, she was like the Agent Coulson of the films. Kind of, except she did way more stuff than Agent Coulson. Agent Coulson wasn't even in all the movies. She was in all the shows. And in some of the movies where Agent Coulson pops up, he's just there to be like, what's this hammer thing? I don't know what this is. I hope it's not something from Stark. That was it. That was the end of what Coulson did. Bap, that was it for that entire movie. But he connected them. See how it connected them? She did stuff in every single one of these. Jessica Jones is the least screen time she had in any of these shows. But aside from that, she basically saved Daredevil's life over and over and over again. And then in season 2 of Daredevil, she fought the hand and she decided to quit being a nurse because she couldn't stand the way that the hospital was treating people. So it's like, all right, that's another step in the right direction. Then she meets Luke Cage and she's like, all right, well, I'm in this now. I'm part of this world. And then she learns how to fight and she learns how to actually combat the hand in Iron Fist. Oh man, you got everything set up. It's all leading to this. She's definitely becoming the night nurse at the end of this. No, she's like in the exact same spot that she was at the end of Iron Fist. Like, she gets no progression in this. Like, that seemed like a major ball drop. And I know a lot of people are like, well, they're saving that for later stuff. This is Defenders. This is what everything was leading to. If there was any moment to have the stuff that you were leading into actually pay off, it was in Defenders. And that's what my big problem with this was. Hey, truck outside. But that's what my... Sorry, guys, we do this next to the giant open window, so enjoy the sounds of Brooklyn out there. But yeah, that's one of my big problems with this. And again, I know not a lot of people are going to have those problems. Pretty much only like big major comic book fans. But aside from just not really like hinting at anything beyond just these 4 characters existing, at like anything outside of their world, yeah, man, a lot of the stuff that it felt like they had been building up to, and it's like, oh, it's gonna happen in Defenders. It didn't happen in Defenders. It didn't happen at all. I'm not saying they're not going to do these things. I'm just saying this seemed like the time you were going to do it, and you didn't. I have no problem if after Defenders they want to start setting up more stuff for later seasons, or if after the big thing is resolved, they then start setting up new stuff, you know, as like the little stingers of things to come, which they do that, and I will get into that. But yeah, it just seemed like such a waste that was like, so when are these things going to happen? Because this was the optimal time to have these things happen. But moving back into the actual story of this, when it actually got to the point where Elektra seemed like she was starting to regain her consciousness, I was like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting, but she's going to eventually like break free and join them and be on their side, but I can find that weird because it showed that Sigourney Weaver's character knows some martial arts, but I couldn't picture Sigourney Weaver fighting Daredevil and Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. Like, I couldn't picture her actually doing hand-to-hand combat against each of them. So I was like, well, if Elektra breaks free, who's the actual, like, final boss of this thing going to be? And then when Elektra shows up and she actually takes all of them out, which granted, Luke Cage was kind of like halfway out to begin with. Yeah, when she actually takes out Stick, I actually called that in the last episode. I think in my summation of episodes 1 through 4, I believe I actually did say, yeah, this is definitely Stick's final episode. And one of the reasons I said that is because the guy playing Stick, it's very clear he did not want to come back for this. Like, it's very clear that he was like, I signed up for one job. I didn't know this was going to be a commitment. So it was very clear that, like, he wanted out. But also, yeah, man, you needed to have a lot of things that you had been saying up actually pay off. And Six is one of those characters who's like, this is the wise old guy who gives you some sage advice and then he dies kind of trope. Like, I know where this is going. And sure enough, that's where it went. But I actually thought it was kind of, I don't want to say heart-touching, but I actually did enjoy the way that they played up how this affected Matt. Like, Matt was actually really kind of choked up about the death of Styx, even though he hated this guy. Like, every single line out of Matt's mouth about Styx is just, he's manipulating you, he's a piece of crap, he is basically trying to take advantage of you. The only time he does something nice for you is when he's trying to manipulate you to do something else for him. And then when he dies, like, Matt is actually kind of like distraught about it because, yeah, man, this was a semi-father figure to him. After his dad dies, Stick is the guy who raised him. Even though he was an asshole who was trying to train him to be an assassin, he's the only one who actually looked out for him. He's the one who helped him for years of his life actually learn how to use these heightened senses of him. He wouldn't be anything without Stick. So I think that they actually did capture the unique relationship that Stick had with him. And also, as I mentioned, it was very clear that the actor playing Stick didn't want to be here for this. But he actually really stepped it up in episode 5 and 6. Like, it actually got way better in those episodes. So, okay, I'm not gonna be too rough on him there. He did get way better. But that was not the big surprise death. When Elektra goes back, and it's zooming in on Sigourney Weaver giving a speech about how it's like, I founded the hand, I am the hand, you need me, chunk. And then the sword goes through, and I went, like, you just hear the sound effect, and all I could think was, which one of them attacked her? Like, which one of these 3 guys standing directly in front of her attacked her? Oh my goodness, who did it? I did not think it was Elektra. Like, I don't know, call me stupid, but I seriously did not think that was Elektra. First off, I didn't think that she was gonna die. I thought that was the big, like, lead-in villain speak that makes the audience go, oh, she is such a badass. So when it then revealed that's her death speech. This character you've been hyping up this whole time, you even got the biggest name actress in this entire show to be her, to just kill her off. Man, that was a ballsy move. Like, that was the perfect way to just blindside me with that. I did not see that coming at all. So yeah, I was really darn impressed by the way that they did that. And then to have Elektra come in and go, yeah, I got all my memories back. I remember it all. I still don't want to die. Dying sucks. And also, maybe it's kind of hinted at, maybe I am still kind of crazy. Maybe I am still kind of Black Sky. Maybe I'm an amalgam of Elektra and the Black Sky, which is kind of what happened to Elektra after she got resurrected by the Hand in the comics. She was like, yeah, I am Elektra. I'm also way more of a killing machine than ever right now because of what the Hand did to me. So yeah, I think that they actually did that pretty darn well. So seeing her actually come back and like, nope, I'm the big villain, and I am still a badass from the Black Sky, and I am going to still try and destroy New York because fuck all New York, don't care about that. It was like, wow. Wasn't expecting that. I really was expecting all this to come down to Matt having to free Elektra from the control of the Hand, and then all of them team up to fight the Hand. yeah, I'm pretty darn impressed by what they did here. I'm still honestly stunned. Like, they did that 2 episodes before the end of it, and I was honestly sitting there thinking, you know, typically about halfway through these seasons, they give you some kind of a big twist. There really hasn't been a big twist so far. Wonder when it's going to, oh, there it is. So that was handled incredibly well. So from there, it goes into the final 2 episodes, and they needed Danny to kind of open up this gate. And I was like, yeah, she's gonna like trick him into like punching the wall, which she did. Yeah, okay, fine. But they handled it better than I expected. Like, I was actually getting so invested in that fight scene that I was like, you know what, I'm not even thinking about, oh, she's gonna trick him into punching the wall. Like, the fight scene was good enough that I kind of forgot that prediction of mine. So, they did that well enough. But then when he actually goes into the big catacomb, the big hole that they open up, and he just sees the skeletons of dragons everywhere. First off, applause on these guys for being willing to build a cool looking set. Because I said one of my biggest problems with Iron Fist is that all the sets looked like crap. They all looked terrible. And then when it came to Kunlun, the place where that should be like, oh, this is where you spend your money. This is where you make like cool looking dragons and mystical cities and stuff. They didn't do it. They never even showed it at all. Like, I mean, last season on The Flash, they had them go to Gorilla City for an entire episode. You couldn't give me 5 minutes of Kunlun? This is nuts. And then you see like the giant dragon skeletons. It's like, all right, you tried. You tried. You know what? Not gonna nitpick anything. In fact, it even looks kind of cool. I think you did a pretty decent job with these giant dragon skeletons. Way to go. Good for you on this one. But when it's revealed that there are all these dragon skeletons under there, all I could think was, oh my god. Say Fing Fang Foom. I'm gonna need someone to say Fing Fang Foom. Someone say it. And again, they didn't do it. It's like all they had to do was just go, these dragons had many names. There was this one, and this one, and this one, and Fing Fang Foom, and this one. And I was like, that's all I need. That's, yeah. Like, even if it's just like written on a wall somewhere. Like, even if it was like written on a wall in Chinese, I wouldn't care. Like, I could go online, find out that translates into that. It's like, all right, cool, good Easter egg, good Easter egg. Yeah, there are like no, not to go back to this, I'm sorry, but there are like no Easter eggs in this show. I mean, they could be incredibly well hidden, but yeah, there really was like, this is it. It's these guys teaming up to fight the hand. That's all you get. And I know that just as a comic book geek, I should enjoy that, but, and I did enjoy that, but yeah, man, every single thing else that Marvel does, including all these Netflix shows, they're not afraid to tease some stuff. They're not afraid to go, oh, okay, this could be a thing over here. And also, like, there's like nothing that links this to the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. Whereas with the previous shows, they would at least like mention the stuff going on in the movies. They would mention the big fight in the Avengers. They would mention all these things. They would never actually say anybody's name, but they would always kind of like hint at, like, they would have somebody going, oh, the big green dude. It's like, okay, I get that. They mention, could this be the incident? Like, they mentioned that once in this. That's it. And it's like, man, I get that you don't want tied that closely to your cinematic universe, or to your films, I should say. But again, it's the Defenders. This is what it was all leading up to. Feels like if there was any time when you should have stepped in and gone, yeah, okay, this is how it connects. Bam, done. And then stepped out. It's like, this is it. Defenders. This is it, man. This is the big, like, this is your big Avengers moment. It's like, yeah, man, there wasn't like, again, it's another example of things that you felt like it was leading up to that it didn't lead into. Like, I'm not saying, again, not saying that they need to have like Robert Downey Jr. guest star here at the end to build Misty her robot arm. But, you know, something, like mention a guy by name from the movies or something. Just to make us go, there, okay, it's all right there. I got it. I got it. And it had me kind of nervous because Kevin Feige said that the Inhuman show does not connect to their films at all. And it makes me go, please tell me you didn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Please tell me you didn't just go, you know what? No TV shows. None of our shows connect at all to it. Because like, oh man, I'm going to need to see these guys pop up in Infinity War. I'm going to need to see that happen. Don't let a bad-looking trailer for Inhumans dissuade you from taking this good stuff and linking it up to your films. But let's go back into the final episode. So yeah, okay, I'm a little bit disappointed that there was no Fing Fang Foom, or that we really didn't get anything else in the way of Easter eggs. I'm still gonna keep bringing that up because that's really just kind of like, man, for real. But even like, okay, I'll keep going into it for a little bit more because it is just on my mind. I can't get it out. But even like, I mean, as far as the villains go, it's like, okay, the guy who killed the bear, he's new, but he's just random martial arts guy. Like, he didn't really do anything that really, like, made him unique. And then after that, you got Madame Gal, and then you got that one guy who was the African guy who had, like, his own little army there. It's like, okay, that guy's kind of cool, but he's dead, and he's gone. Okay, well, you didn't really do enough with him. So you got Madame Gal, who has always been pretty cool in these shows. But then you got Bakudo back, and it was kind of cool to bring back a returning villain, but, you know, I didn't really care about Bakudo at all. And Sigourney Weaver is out like that. So, yeah, man. There really isn't anything new in this. Like, that is a kind of a problem that I have with this. There really isn't anything new, and there isn't anything beyond just these 4 characters in here. Like, the Punisher doesn't even show up in this. Like, I pictured the Punisher had to show up for at least a cameo or something. Like, they put out like a little teaser thing for Defenders in which it was Stan Lee just talking about what these heroes mean. And then at the end of it, you just see the Punisher walk out of the shadows and goes, "Guess it's my time." And I was like, okay, so they just revealed that Punisher's gonna be in Defenders. Punisher ain't in Defenders. Punisher ain't here at all. It is these 4 characters, that's it. And if you are another character, you were specifically in their supporting cast. That was it. You are not getting anybody else in here. So yeah, man, it kind of frustrated me. Like, there was that moment in which all the members of the Hand, like the main 5 members, well, the main 4 members at that point, I should say, they were talking about how they were concerned that the Black Sky was going to betray them, that they couldn't trust the Black Sky, which, looking back on, is kind of awesome that the one person standing up for the Black Sky going, "She will always be loyal to me," is the one person she kills and then goes, "I wasn't loyal to her, you're all now loyal to me, and I ain't betraying you because we're all in this together, alright? I'm leading this thing now. If anybody's betraying anybody, you're gonna betray me, and then I will murder you." So yeah, that's, oh man. So yeah, that was really like the only, we didn't even get new villains, that's what I'm trying to say. The new villains we got were just, you know, they're just random people. The only ones who actually really made an impression on you was Elektra, Bakudo, and Madame Gal. And there's that moment where they're talking about how the Black Sky is going to betray them. I just kept thinking, please tell me each of you are going to bring in like your own special assassins. Like, please tell me like you have plans where it's like, okay, in case we got to go to war with the other members of the Hand, we're each going to have our own soldiers. You got the Black Sky? Guess what? I heard about this one dude off in Australia who's really good at aiming things. I'm going to hire that dude. It's like, God, just something. Like, I don't say you need to introduce Bullseye in this, although it would kind of been a cool stinger, but just give me something in here. Give me someone else that I can go, oh, it's that guy. There is no, oh, it's that guy moment. That's what my problem was with Defenders on just a geek level. Again, not judging the show itself, but just saying every single one of these other Netflix shows, I had the, oh my goodness, it's that guy moment. There does not exist that moment in here. That was terrible grammar. That moment does not exist in here. I spoke like Yoda there for a second. That moment doesn't exist in this. Like in Jessica Jones, I expected that one to be the most straightforward at all because Jessica Jones doesn't have that much to pull from in the comics. But they still just stopped and went, hey, you know this random dude that Patsy Walker's dating? He's Nuke. Yeah, you remember that Daredevil and Captain America and Wolverine villain? Yeah, it's him. We just pulled that guy out of nowhere to be in this show so that you, the audience, can have that, oh, it's that guy moment. This show, which should have had the most, oh, it's that guy moments, didn't have any, oh, it's that guy moments. Okay, sorry for ranting so much, but as I said, I am very sleep deprived right now. But okay, let's get into the final episode, or, well, okay, the final 2 episodes, I should say, because there's that moment when they go and they storm the big facility, and they have the plan. They're going to plant the bombs to cause it all to implode and just fall into the massive dragon chasm. It's like, all right, cool, big final hero confrontation. I'm all for this. And then it gets to them actually having to fight the 3 other major members of the Hand. And this should have been an awesome moment, but as I've been saying, the editing and the fight scenes in here it's either really good or really bad. And this scene kind of summed it up for me, because there are shots in this fight that looked fantastic. There were shots in this fight that I was really impressed with. I was having a good time with it. You could tell everything that was happening. And then there are other moments that it's just the quick cuts, just super close-ups, just you cannot tell what is happening here. Everything is too dark. You have no idea what is happening in here for like half the fight. The other half of the fight looks really darn cool. But yeah, that's my problem with it. And honestly, I think it's because you have 4 superheroes in here fighting guys who are martial artists, and the only people who knew martial arts were the villains and Daredevil. Like, we've established that the guy who plays that, I forgot his name, but the guy who plays Iron Fist, Finn Jones. We've established that Finn Jones doesn't really know Kung Fu. He showed up for practice, did the minimum amount of work, and then just kind of left. So yeah, he is not good enough at Kung Fu, but he was better in this than he was in Iron Fist. I don't know if they kept training him, or if they were able to hide a stunt double better, or if just the guy directing it went, no, we're doing this again until it looks good. We're not doing one take and then going home, alright? Because that was a big problem I had with Iron Fist. It was really clear they did one take on some of those, and it was like, move it along, we gotta keep this thing rolling. So yeah, he was better in this. I will totally say his fighting style was better in this. But in this scene, which you got 2 martial arts masters over there, or at least 2 guys who are playing martial arts masters. I don't know if they actually are in real life. And then you got Madame Gao, who's got telekinetic powers. Then on the other side, you got Daredevil, which that actor definitely actually did train to do martial arts. And then you got Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, and they don't know martial arts, which is fine for their shows. Because in their shows, Jessica Jones, she just picks guys up and throws them. In Luke Cage's show, he just shoves guys. That's it. And it worked for their shows. That was their fighting style that they needed for those shows. Because they weren't fighting ninjas in their shows. In this, they're fighting ninjas, and it becomes really clear, oh, they don't know the choreography for this. They don't know how to do really big knockdown, drag out fights, because that's not what they were trained for. It made sense for their show, but in this one, yeah, every time that cut to them fighting, I couldn't tell what was happening because it was just the quick cuts. And also, their budget on telekinesis for Madame Gao, not nearly as high as it needed, because they had to do crazy cuts with that to make it look cool, it wasn't really. So yeah, that just didn't look good. But when it comes to Daredevil fighting the other 2 guys, that looked okay. But then they would mix it up, and they'd have one of those guys go over and fight Luke Cage, and then Daredevil would be fighting someone else, and be like, oh, now it looks kind of bad again. It was so hot and cold. Like, every time that I was like, oh god, it's terrible, ooh, that's good. Oh, there's a couple moments here that are good. Oh, it's nice. Oh, it's back to bad. That's how pretty much all the fight scenes are in here. Like going into episode 8, there's the moment that should have been awesome when they tell Danny, light it up. And he then just uses the fist and it's like, oh, what's he gonna do? He stops the fist halfway and then like just in the middle of the air, not punching anything. And there's supposed to be this thing where it's like, okay, it's gonna emit like a big blast of energy that knocks everyone back. They don't have any special effects on that. Like, he just punches the air and then everybody, oh! And it's like, no, dude, it's not that expensive to make a big energy burst come out. To make just a big, like, come out and knock everyone back. Like, you need that, otherwise it just looks like people going, oh! And some of the freaking people, fell at different moments than the other people falling, so it'd be like, oh, while another person, oh, like right after that, I was like, are you fucking, what? Are you kidding me? And if you had a big like burst of energy come out, it would take up some of the screen, so you wouldn't be able to notice all that. But when it's just an invisible force pushing people down, you can see everything that's happening in this. You can see, okay, these people were not choreographed to know when to fall. It drove me freaking nuts. But, you know, I know that we all love to, like, point at Iron Fist after how bad his show was and go, well, it's always his fault. But it's like, no, man, that was not his fault. That was a special effects. That was a choreography thing. That was not on him. In fact, as I said, it really does seem like he was actually a better martial artist in this show than he was in his own show. Like, the fight scene between him and Elektra, I thought that was pretty darn good. I actually thought they did a decent job on that. I mean, there are so many more fight scenes in this show involving him where they just held the camera on him because they're like, yeah, he can actually do some stuff. He can actually know choreography. We're not just going to cut after every single punch he throws because we realize it will look stupid if we hold the camera on him any longer. It's like, no, we can trust him to actually do some stuff. But again, that didn't always work out. And then you go into the big final fight scene between all the people there. And yeah, man, I just didn't feel anything because it was just them going up against random thugs. And again, it was a really dark room, so you could barely make all of them out. And it was tons of cutting. Like, there was one big, like, camera zoom that went all the way around and circled around showing everybody doing stuff. And like, that's cool. And then after that, it just kind of goes into the random cuts. And yeah, that's how all the action was this season. It's either really cool or really bad. And it makes me... It would almost be better if it was all bad. Because now we look at it, it's like, oh my god, you didn't get anybody in here who knows what they're doing. But because half of it is good, I look at it like, so were there two guys like fighting with the camera this whole time? Was it like the director knew what he was doing, but the editor didn't? Or the editor knew what they were doing, but the director didn't? Like, what's going on? How is it so 50-50 on being good and bad? But let's go into, there is one question that I had before I go into like the big finale of it, which, if they needed Danny to open up this big gateway, how did they already have an elevator going down there? Like, I asked that on Twitter and someone said, well, no, the elevator wasn't going down into the big chasm. The elevator was going down to the doorway, but the doorway is no longer there. I was like, that didn't look like the same elevator. Like, maybe it's just me. Like, maybe I'm just, you know, I wasn't paying enough attention to the actual elevator itself because I didn't think it was actually going to become a thing later on. But yeah, the elevator that they used to go down, like, at least the way that they go down, it didn't quite look the same as the elevator they were using there at the end. Like, to me, the way the elevator was placed there at the end even appeared to be in a different location. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just looking at that and, like, I just didn't follow it. But it really did kind of feel to me like this is a brand new elevator. Like, it really did feel to me like, yeah, man, this is just one that already happened to go down to the giant dragon chasm. But again, people on Twitter have already come in and told me, no, that's not what it was. You're imagining things. I'm like, all right, cool. I guess that's not a thing, whatever. But we go into a different fight scene, which is between Colleen and Bakuto. And you've got Claire in there. And again, Claire just did not do enough this season. Like, she's the night nurse. She didn't really, like, she should be patching all these guys up. Like, they should all come to her just beaten and bruised up, and she's like, all right, let me get your big dumbasses back out there on the street, and just has to fix them all up. It's like, all right. And that's when she realizes, you know what, even though I quit the hospital, there's still some good that I can do. And there's other heroes aside from you out there who need help, something like that. I'm just mad that she didn't become the night nurse in this. But then Misty comes in. And I was like, all right, Misty Knight, Colleen Wing, you got the Daughters of the Dragon working together again. I wish they had had a few more interactions in the show, but that's, you know, we got something out of it. But Misty comes in, and if you watched my Luke Cage video, you know all throughout that I kept saying any time that like gunfire was going down or people were fighting and Misty was there, I just kept looking at that arm. Like, I just kept looking over at Misty's arm like, when's it gonna go? Because if you guys know the comics, you know Misty Knight has a robot arm. Her arm got chopped off, so she has a robot arm there. So the entire time that she was in like a gunfire or something in Luke Cage, I look at it like, when's that arm gonna go? And then it never went, so I was like, okay, whatever. And then when she walks in and they're having the sword fight, I was like, is this it? Is this the moment that's going to happen? And then as soon as I thought, is this the moment that's going to happen? I then went, nah, you know what? The budget to have her have a robot arm be too big. And this show, it's not about big, crazy special effects and like robots. they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna give her the robot arm, so they're not gonna chop her arm off. And after a year of waiting to see if Misty Knight was gonna lose her arm, the second I thought, you know what, it's not gonna happen, chop. For real! Like, I literally, it was the moment that I said, it's not gonna happen, is the exact moment that it happened. And I was kind of like, oh my god, they're going to do it. They're going to give her the robot arm. Like, at the end of this, when she's in the hospital, they go, Daddy's got connections, and they might be able to get you back on their feet. And again, like I said, they need to do something in this to finally kind of, for lack of better terms, stop the bullshitting. Because every single season on this, they're like, well, you know, the incident, and you know, those big hero guys, oh, that guy wearing all the flags, oh, that big green dude. Like, they never actually wanted to say that they never actually wanted to mention the guys from the movies, but it was clear they were referencing the guys from the movies, and it was like, this is the Defenders, this is what you've been leading to. This is the moment that you stop bullshitting and you finally go, yeah, we're connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the Avengers. We're gonna say the Avengers, we're gonna say all this stuff. So when he goes, he's got connections that might be able to get you back up on your feet. I was like, say Stark. Say he has connections to Stark Industries, and after hearing what you did, they actually want to help you out with some experimental technology. Say something like that. It doesn't have to be those exact words, but something along those lines to make me go, this is how you're freaking connected. Give me something to connect all of you. Anywho, so that happened, but then it goes into the fight back down there. They all have to climb out. I actually love seeing Jessica having to hold the elevator together. It's like, that's pretty cool, but again, you could have shot it better. Like, it really feels like they just... Man, it really feels like they just did not know how to shoot epic moments, because the shot of her holding the elevator, it sure like showing her actually holding it. Instead, it just barely shoots it at an angle that you can barely kind of see one hand holding it, so like you have to assume in your mind what she's doing. It's like, guys, come on, just show us her doing some cool shit. Just show us a good superhero pose in here at some point. Show us the cool moment. But yeah, they just seemed to, like, with how Daredevil arrived, it just kept feeling like they were cutting around it all. But the big finale of this thing, it's Daredevil actually fighting Elektra as the building is about to come down. It's like, alright, but he's gonna get through to her. And as that clock kept ticking down, eventually it hit that moment which I was like, oh my god, he's not getting out. He's not getting out. Well, clearly he's going to survive this thing, in some way. I mean, clearly, somehow he's going to survive. And yeah, seeing the two of them there, as this whole thing is crumbling around them, as they just like embrace and kiss, I was like, that's actually awesome. Like I mentioned just a second ago, just give us the cool superhero pose. Give us the cool shot that makes you go, that's something that you would see in a superhero thing. Him and her kissing while the world crumbles around them, that's a shot out of a comic. That's a shot out of a superhero thing. Okay, you got that one in there. And that was actually a really damn good moment. I loved how this ended in that scene. And yeah, when it actually kind of crumbled around him, I was like, you know he's not dead. I know he's not dead because you have a Daredevil season 3 coming out. And it just kept going, and the show kept going, and it kept going and going and going, showing all their little wrap-ups, everything that each of them was doing. And it started to kind of sink in. It's like, wait a minute. They announced Daredevil season 3 a long-ass time ago, but I haven't heard anything new from that in a while. I've heard new stuff from Jessica Jones season 2. I've heard new stuff about The Punisher show. I've heard new stuff about Luke Cage season 2. They just announced Iron Fist season 2. I haven't heard anything about Daredevil season 3 in forever. Oh my god, could they have canceled Daredevil season 3? Because this has been one of those things where they had a Daredevil season 3 plan, but then Charlie Cox came in and just went, yeah, you know what? I'm out as Daredevil. This, dressing up in tights, going out there punching guys, that's not what I want to do with my career. It's too fun. I want to do serious stuff. I want to win an Oscar. I'm not going to win an Oscar as Daredevil. I'm quitting. Could that have happened behind the scenes? Did they actually just kill off Daredevil? It actually got me thinking that. And then it cuts to that shot of the Empire State Building being red, and you see a mystery person on the roof, and I'm like, there he is. There's Daredevil. All right. And then it cuts in and reveals that's Iron Fist. And I went, oh, snap. For anybody who has read the comics, you know there was a moment where Matt Murdock had to quit being Daredevil, and Iron Fist filled in for him as the new Daredevil. Are they hinting at that? Are they hinting he's going to replace Charlie Cox as Daredevil? Because there's Iron Fist Season 2 coming out. You can't have him be both Daredevil in Season 3 and Iron Fist in Season 2. You can't do that, but it really felt like that's what they were hinting at. And when you get to that moment where you see like actually Foggy and Karen actually talking about this, and Foggy's like, I gave him the suit and told him to go out there and do that because I thought if he just got this out of his system, we could have our old Matt back. I was thinking that, oh God, if I helped him, then that would be it. This would be his one last hurrah. And it was his one last hurrah. And I was like, oh man, I really feel for these two guys. Like, they were able to take a thing that I was like, I know because of the stuff happening outside the show that this isn't actually happening, and actually made me go, oh my gosh, it's happening. And here's the thing. As I mentioned, there was really no like fan servicey moments in here. There's nothing really for the comic fans to go, oh my gosh, it's that thing. Until the final moment of this season. The final moment when you see him there in the church. They had recovered his body, and he's there beaten and bruised and unconscious, and they go, he's starting to wake up. Get Maggie. I was like, for anybody who knows the comics, you know that during Frank Miller's run, he had a storyline where Matt actually, there came a moment where he was beaten and left for dead, and then a bunch of nuns gathered him, and one of those nuns was his long-lost mom, Maggie. Oh my gosh, they're doing that. They're going... That's actually brilliant. Like, that out of this entire season is the only thing that made me go, oh, it's that thing! Oh my god, they're doing this thing! It was like, that is the perfect spot to begin Daredevil Season 3. Like, I do kind of have a problem, as I said, that Defenders didn't expand their world any, but it did actually progress every single one of these characters. Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, it didn't progress him that much. Luke, in the very first episode, he gets out of prison. But beyond that, he doesn't really go on to anything else after this. But Jessica Jones, at the end of this, is like, you know what? I think I'm ready after all this time to start opening up my business again. So it's like, okay, she progressed some. Okay, cool. But then Iron Fist progressed a lot in this. And I'll get into him in just a second, because he deserves like his own little spotlight time. But Daredevil... Man, Daredevil, you resolved so much and then set up his next season, but it didn't feel like the Daredevil show. They did a great job of balancing every single one of these characters, and as I said in part 1, yes, I have many problems with this show. However, it's the interactions between these characters that made this show. So many of the problems that I have with this, like the bad action and, you know, some kind of like, meh, who cares villains, all of that can be forgiven because the interaction between these guys is so damn good. Like, I was expecting the interactions between Luke and Jessica to be good. I was hoping the interactions between Luke and Danny were going to be good. The interactions between Jess and Matt were so damn good. And I wasn't even thinking about that. They had the best interactions this entire series. I loved seeing their interactions. Like, just the fact that Jess could actually make Daredevil kind of smile and make him actually laugh. Like, man, that's so... I love seeing this. This just feels good. But every single one of those actors, they've already proven in the previous shows that they're actually really damn good. Although I will say, Charlie Cox this season, he was way tweakier than he was in any of the other ones. Like, I never even noticed this in any of the previous seasons. Maybe he was always doing it and I just never saw it until now. But it was just me, or did it seem like this season he was just constantly... like, in the last couple episodes, when his super hearing was being used, it was how it was supposed to be used. Like, he would run his fingers across the wall, or he would tap on something, or he would just stand there in silence and be like, I know what's happening over here. But... like, in the middle of this season, like episode 5 and episode 4, like around there, every time he was using the superhuman, he was just, I was like, dude, that's not what that's supposed to look like. That's not how it looked like in the previous episodes, and it looks kind of dumb. Like, don't treat it that way. That's just, ugh. Why are you doing that? Like, it really seems like even though this had one showrunner, the directors, every single one of them had a different idea of what every episode should be. There are small things in here that didn't feel like they matched up. There are small things in here from episode to episode that really feel like different people came in and tried to change things in one way, shape, or form. But I mentioned that I want to go into Iron Fist specifically. And the reason I want to go into that is because, for obvious reasons, he's the one who needed the most help. He's the one who, after his show, really needed someone to come in here and go, we need to fix Iron Fist. And I'm not saying they fully did it, but it feels like they set him up to be fixed. Like, at the end of this, the fact that he was like, you know what? New York is my home. And I have to, and like, it's kind of implied by him saying New York is his home that he's kind of gonna have to let the anger go. And that was my biggest problem with Iron Fist. Not that he was angry, because it's like, all right, I get it. Season 1 is the revenge story. I understand. It's that Finn Jones can't play angry. Like, he acted like a child whenever he was angry. Like, whenever he was angry, he just, like, that was his anger, or his, like, angry face. Like, there's no subtlety to his angry face. His angry face is, like, that's his angry face. I'm like, you suck at being angry. I'm sorry, but you do. However, as I mentioned in the last episode, when he's actually just being chill, when he's not doing the gruff Batman Iron Fist voice, and he's not being super angry and all vengeance-y, and he's just hanging out with people, and he's just being happy, which, if you read the Iron Fist comics, is something that he often is, he's actually good. I actually loved this character when he was being upbeat and positive and happy. He actually pulled it off. So I kept looking at this like, oh my god, just keep doing that. So at the end of this, when he's like, yeah, New York is my home, I was like, okay, does this mean you're gonna chill the fudge out? Does this mean you're actually going to be the Iron Fist that we all like now? Okay, because I can see that. And also, they really kept setting up the idea of Power Man and Iron Fist, of Luke Cage and Iron Fist working together. And in episode 3 and 4, I absolutely love it. And there are other moments in episodes 5 through 8 that I really dug. Like the moment when Daredevil was having to torture that guy and he slings his billy club and wraps it around his throat. And Iron Fist just goes, cool. Which, again, good Iron Fist moment there. Good read. You did that well. And then Luke Cage just goes, it's kind of cool. And like, okay, these guys get along. But then also, like, the two of them, like, have, like, Iron Fist tied up and Luke Cage has to watch over him. The moments where they actually are, like, talking about, like, their battle stories. Like, here's all the stuff I went through. Here's all the stuff that I went through. That's, man, again, that works. And then there comes that moment and we're just like, dude, come on, you and me. We can do this. This is what this city needs. Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I was like, that was a little bit, again, that was a little bit overly gruff, overly serious. Which, yeah, this guy, he does not do serious well. Maybe if he kept his British accent, he could do it well, but when he's trying to do the American accent, it doesn't work. It does not work at all. So it was a little bit too serious of a read for that line, but I did appreciate what they were trying to say, and I did appreciate that they were really trying to, like, lean into, let's set up the friendship and the teamwork between these two guys. Which I will say, when it comes to the actual fight scenes, there wasn't nearly enough teamwork. Like, it really feels like everybody's just fighting their own fights. It really doesn't feel like anybody did, like, their own, like, special thing. Like, at no point does Luke Cage, like, pick up Iron Fist and throw him at somebody. At no point does, like, Jessica Jones have to, like, pick up Matt's billy club and hit someone with it, or, like, something like that. There's really no teamwork. Everybody was doing their own thing. So that's another little negative for the fight scenes. But I really did dig that they were trying to set up these two guys need to work together. But I just kind of kept looking at that moment. It's like, no. This city doesn't need that. You need that. Because when you're with Luke Cage in this, you are taking it to a new level. You are actually proving to me you can be Iron Fist when you are with Luke Cage. But Luke is fine on his own. Luke doesn't need you. Luke Cage does not need you to pop up in the Luke Cage TV show. Iron Fist needs Luke Cage to pop up in the Iron Fist TV show. That's what I'm trying to say. But as a longtime Power Man and Iron Fist fan, I did actually really love how they were like, no, we are going to establish Power Man and Iron Fist. We're going to establish these two guys. They're like that. They work together. So that I was really enjoying. So, okay, you've got him at the end of this, accepting New York as his home, hopefully implying he's not going to be nearly as angry next season. We actually saw him using his business at some point, which that was a problem that a lot of people had with season 1 of Iron Fist, is that it was like, oh, all the business stuff is boring. It's like, no, the business stuff is not boring, it's just not done well. The business stuff should actually be really interesting. They should actually use the business for big stuff. And they started Iron Fist by going, oh, well, we're doing illegal stuff. I'm going to shut all that down. Yeah, man. They then immediately get rid of that plot. They stopped with that plot immediately. It's like, no. This is actually a big part of Iron Fist. A big part of Iron Fist is him using his company for good. And they just kind of like dropped that almost immediately. So there's this amazing moment in there in one of the earlier episodes between Luke Cage and Iron Fist, in which Luke Cage is just like, you're just a rich white boy. You have the power with no chi power fist to be able to change the world all on your own. Just as the rich white boy, you could go in there and do so much good, affect so much. Like, it was really almost like Luke Cage was addressing the people who wrote season 1 of Iron Fist and just said, how did you not have him do stuff with this? How did you not have him use his company for good? How did that just get dropped? I mean, hell, in Iron Fist season 1, they drop him from his own company, and that's never resolved. At the end of that, he's still dropped from the company, and in this, he goes into the company like he still runs the place, and like they still tell him, like, yeah, I still own 51% of this, like I can still do whatever I want with this company. And I was like, yeah, good. I'm glad that they just decided, you know what, that it was dumb in the last week. Like, just forget that. Just forget the whole he's out of the company thing. Like, that's gone. Like, it didn't even make sense. How the hell do you vote out someone who has 51% of your company? They have the controlling share. They can vote you out. Like, that just made no sense. So I was really happy to see Luke kind of giving him the speech of, yeah, you need to actually do something good with this company. But even aside from that, they are constantly just calling Iron Fist out. All throughout this, they're constantly like, you are the dumbest of all the Iron Fist. You're the worst Iron Fist. You are a child. Like, there was one moment where Styx says, stop acting like a child. He goes, I'm not acting like a child. And like gets up and does like the thing that he always does. Like, that's another thing. Stop with this motion. Like, that's like, his, like, I don't know if it's him trying to puff up his chest to seem, like, big and intimidating. I don't know if it's him trying to go, like, oh, well, this is my angry motion. But, God, he does that all the time, and it makes you look like a child. It makes you look like a brat. It makes you look like a little kid trying to throw a temper tantrum. Stop fucking doing that motion. And immediately after Styx said, stop acting like a child, and he goes, I'm not being a child. And he, like, does a little motion again. I was like, please tell me that you planned that, like you did that on purpose. Please tell me it's like that you realized that makes him look like a child, that makes him look like a brat, and you were trying to do that to kind of emphasize it. Like, it really does kind of seem to me like they were really just calling him out on all this stuff because they were trying to address the problems of his character in that show. They were trying to admit to all the problems of his character in order to kind of go, well, he's gonna have to work on it. We can't just have him come in here in Defenders and be a completely different character than the one he was in Iron Fist, but the character he was in Iron Fist sucked, so we have to work on it. We have to embrace the fact that he sucked, address the fact that he sucked, and have him work on not sucking as much. In fact, I even saw an article out there in a paper that said Defenders is a blueprint on how to make Iron Fist not suck. That was the exact title of the article. And I was like, yeah, man, they are step by step trying to make Iron Fist not suck anymore. So I gotta applaud them for that. Now the question is, now that they have teed up that ball, Is Iron Fist Season 2 going to take it and run with it? Or are they going to forget all the lessons? Because even by the end of this, he's not fully fixed. He's still doing the super grumpy face at all times, which just looks stupid. So my question is, in Season 2, are they going to go, alright, time to take it the next step. Time to make him a little bit better. Time to stop having so many grumpy faces. We don't need the Iron Grumpy Cat in here. We need Danny Rand. Are we going to move him ahead a little bit more? Are we going to do better stuff with the business in here? So they have now set Iron Fist up in a spot where he's not fixed, but a good Season 2 could now fix him. A good Season 2 could make me go, alright, you took what Defender started and you ran with it. Good for you. So, okay, I have hope for Iron Fist. So, in the end, this show, by the way, there's some weird loud music going on outside. I apologize for that, but we're wrapping up right now. So in the end, Defenders, it gave me some stuff I wanted, but not nearly enough. Like, again, no, like, Easter egg stuff, no little hints of a bigger world, no little, like, it didn't really expand this universe. It just kind of moved these characters from A to B. But the fact that it did move them from A to B is pretty impressive. The fact that it didn't just come and go, we're just going to have them team up and then they go their separate ways. The fact that they actually did have each of these character stories progress was pretty darn impressive. I'm glad they did that. And even though half the action sucks, half the action is pretty darn good. And yeah, there weren't nearly enough big, cool, epic moments. But when a big, cool, epic moment does come, it is pretty darn cool. And as I said, it's the interactions between these characters that make this. No matter what other flaws I have with this show, no matter what things I like but did not get nearly enough of in this show, the interactions between these characters is what makes me go, darn it, you saved it. Any problems that this show might have had, this is what fixed it. This is what makes me go, I can overlook all those and say, in the end, this actually is a good show. Because these characters are so darn good and their interactions with each other are even better. And on a team series, on a, I almost said book, on a show that is all about a team of characters that we've come to know and love, meeting and interacting, when you make that the focus and that the best thing about it, you succeeded. You could have succeeded more, but you did succeed. So I am giving this a thumbs up and I did enjoy it. But if you guys want to see a little bit more comprehensive and actually understandable analysis of this show, then make sure that you come back for my review. As I said, not only are these just my thoughts right off the top of my head right after I saw this thing, but again, I'm sleepy. I'm so tired. So I'm going to go take a nap. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And make sure that you come back for the actual review that will hopefully make a little bit more sense. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can always reach me on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. Thanks for tuning in again. Coming next time. I'm going off to Sleepy Time Junction now. I almost did fall asleep there.